In the sprawling galaxy of Warhammer 40,000, where the Imperium of Man clings to survival amidst countless foes, the machinery of war is both a weapon and a deity. For millennia, the Adeptus Mechanicus, the tech priesthood of Mars, maintained a tenuous balance between faith and function. They venerated the Omnissiah, a godlike figure intertwined with the Emperor, as the embodiment of machine perfection. Yet within their ranks simmered a shadowy undercurrent, a dangerous curiosity, a hunger for power unrestrained by faith or dogma. This forbidden appetite would give rise to the Dark Mechanicum, a heretical splinter faction that embraced the chaos of the warp, twisting machinery into horrors beyond comprehension. But how did such a betrayal take root within a society built on ironclad doctrines? What drove these once loyal servants of the Omnissiah to forsake their sacred vows and plunge into heresy? To understand the birth of the Dark Mechanicum, one must delve deep into the dark recesses of history, tracing the threads of treachery back to their source. The seeds of the Dark Mechanicum were sown long before their open rebellion during the Horus heresy. Beneath the surface of Mars, the cradle of the Adeptus Mechanicus, divergent ideologies festered. The cult Mechanicus preached unity and conformity, yet its adherents were far from monolithic. While some tech priests adhered strictly to the edicts of the machine god, others questioned these doctrines, seeking knowledge deemed heretical. They whispered of forbidden technologies, Xenos artifacts, and the untapped potential of the warp, concepts that challenged the rigid orthodoxy of their faith. Mars, a planet of rust-red deserts and towering forges, held secrets as old as humanity itself. Buried beneath its sands were the remnants of the Dark Age of technology, an era when mankind wielded unimaginable power through artificial intelligence and warp manipulation. The Mechanicum revered this age as a golden era, yet they feared it as much as they worshipped it. The machine god's commandments were clear. Artificial intelligence was an abomination, and the warp was a realm of peril and corruption. Yet for some, these edicts were shackles to be broken. The discovery of ancient corrupted technologies on Mars and other Forge worlds fueled this schism. Forbidden experiments, often conducted in secrecy, began to blur the lines between faith and heresy. While the Mechanicum's rulers sought to suppress such practices, their efforts were far from absolute. The rigid hierarchy of the cult Mechanicus, combined with the secretive nature of its members, created fertile ground for dissent to flourish. As the Imperium expanded, the Mechanicum's role became ever more vital. Its forges churned out the weapons and war machines that allowed humanity to conquer the stars. But with this power came a darker temptation, the lure of absolute control over life and death. The warp, a realm of chaos and possibility, became an irresistible beacon for some tech priests. They envisioned a future where the boundaries of the material world could be transcended, where machines, at the heart of the Dark Mechanicum's rise, lies a twisted array of key figures and factions, each playing a pivotal role in the splintering of the Adeptus Mechanicus. These individuals and groups did not merely abandon the doctrines of the Omnissiah. They actively forged a new path, one steeped in the dark energies of the warp. Each actor brought a unique perspective to the heresy, blending insatiable ambition, forbidden experimentation, and the corruption of chaos into a force that would forever change the galaxy. One of the most infamous names tied to the Dark Mechanicum is Kelbor Hal, the Fabricator General of Mars during the Horus heresy. As the supreme leader of the Mechanicus, Kelbor Hal held unparalleled power and influence. His betrayal was not born overnight. It stemmed from years of frustration with the Imperial Truth's denial of the divine. Kelbor Hal grew disillusioned with the Emperor, whom he saw as a false god usurping the machine god's place. When Horus offered a vision of a galaxy free from the Emperor's tyranny, Kelbor Hal was quick to ally with the warmaster, opening the gates of Mars to chaos and its unholy promises. Supporting Kelbor Hal were numerous subordinate magi, each with their own reasons for turning to heresy. Magos Urtel Shera, a master of forbidden xenotechnology, was renowned for his experiments on artifacts from long-dead alien civilizations. Zera's insatiable thirst for knowledge knew no bounds, and the lure of the warp offered avenues of experimentation that even the Mechanicus considered taboo. His creations, horrifying amalgamations of organic and mechanical components, became emblematic of the Dark Mechanicum's twisted vision. Another key figure was Coriel Zeth, a rogue archmagos known for her radical theories on AI and synthetic consciousness. Zeth's work skirted the edges of acceptable Mechanicus doctrine, often delving into areas explicitly forbidden by the Red Planet's dogma. While heresy had not yet claimed her during the early days of her research, the lure of chaos soon provided the freedom she craved, offering her unrestricted access to warp-tainted energies that pushed her creations beyond the bounds of mortal understanding. Factions within the Mechanicus also played critical roles in the rise of the Dark Mechanicum. The Myrmidon cult, for example, was a militant order of tech priests obsessed with the art of war. While they outwardly served the machine god, their fixation on destruction made them susceptible to the promises of chaos. Many within the Myrmidon ranks turned to heresy during the Horus heresy, eager to harness the warp's power to enhance their weaponry and tactics. The heretics were another influential group, though their rebellion against the Mechanicus predated the Dark Mechanicum's formal emergence. Heretics were outcasts, shunned for their defiance of Mars's rigid orthodoxy. Their rejection of the machine god's worship made them ideal candidates for recruitment into the Dark Mechanicum, as they sought new masters to support their heretical endeavors. Chaos provided them with both resources and power, allowing them to unleash technological horrors upon the galaxy. Crucially, the influence of chaos itself must not be overlooked. Demons of the Warp played an active role in corrupting the Mechanicus, whispering to ambitious tech priests and promising them untold power in exchange for their loyalty. These entities forged unholy pacts with their mortal allies, infusing machinery with the Warp's malevolent energies. The melding of chaos and technology gave birth to creations that defied logic and sanity, such as the dreaded demon engines that would later become synonymous with the Dark Mechanicum's arsenal. Even among the ranks of traitor Astartes, the Dark Mechanicum found allies. The Iron Warriors, in particular, forged strong ties with the heretical tech priests. Known for their expertise in siegecraft and fortifications, the Iron Warriors valued the Dark Mechanicum's ability to produce nightmarish war machines that could break the stalemates of war. This symbiotic relationship allowed both factions to thrive, their combined efforts fueling the fires of the Horus heresy. Lastly, it is essential to acknowledge the role of Horus Lupercal himself in the Dark Mechanicum's formation. As warmaster, Horus understood the strategic value of subverting the Mechanicus. By bringing Kelbor Hal and his followers into the fold, Horus ensured that the traitor legions would have access to the vast forges of Mars and the unspeakable creations of the Dark Mechanicum. His manipulation of the Fabricator General was a masterstroke, turning the Mechanicus's own strength against the Imperium. Through the actions of these individuals and factions, the Dark Mechanicum emerged as a force capable of challenging the Imperium. Their betrayal was not merely a shift in allegiance, it was a profound reimagining of what technology could be when unshackled from morality and faith. In their hands, machines became weapons of terror, their purpose twisted by the dark will of chaos. The birth of the Dark Mechanicum did not occur in isolation. It was the culmination of centuries of tension, ideological fractures, and external pressures within the Adeptus Mechanicus and the wider Imperium. To understand the conditions that allowed such a cataclysmic schism, one must examine the undercurrents that undermined the cohesion of the cult Mechanicus and the larger context of humanity's fraught relationship with technology. At its core, the Adeptus Mechanicus operated under a paradox. On the one hand, it revered technology as divine, governed by the machine god's will and the sacred STC templates inherited from humanity's golden age. On the other hand, the Mechanicus was a hub of innovation, experimentation, and relentless ambition. This tension between preservation and progress created a fertile breeding ground for heretical thought. Many tech priests, especially those on the fringes of the cult, grew dissatisfied with the rigid orthodoxy that dictated which technologies were acceptable to study or replicate. They yearned for the freedom to explore uncharted frontiers, even if it meant courting the forbidden. The Age of Strife, a dark period before the rise of the Emperor, played a critical role in shaping the Mechanicus' eventual fracturing. During this era, humanity's galaxy-spanning empire collapsed under the weight of warp storms, alien invasions, and the rebellion of artificial intelligences. On Mars, survival necessitated extreme measures. The tech priests, cut off from Terra and its guidance, became increasingly insular and superstitious. They developed the cult Mechanicus to ensure their survival, elevating the machine god to central prominence. However, the isolation of Mars also allowed divergent ideologies to flourish. Some tech priests began experimenting with Xenos artifacts and warp energies, desperate to find tools that could secure Mars's dominance in an unforgiving galaxy. When the Emperor emerged and unified Terra, the Mechanicus' alignment with his cause came at a cost. The Treaty of Olympus granted Mars autonomy and preserved its religious practices, but it also introduced the Imperium's strictures. The Imperial Truth, a doctrine that denied the existence of gods, clashed with the Mechanicus' belief in the machine god. While the treaty provided a temporary resolution, it planted the seeds of dissent. Many within the Mechanicus resented the Emperor's assertion of authority over their faith and practices, perceiving it as an existential threat to their identity. The Great Crusade further exacerbated these tensions. As the Emperor's forces reclaimed lost human worlds, they unearthed relics of humanity's ancient technological mastery. These discoveries were a double-edged sword for the Mechanicus. On one hand, they provided invaluable insights into lost knowledge. On the other hand, they revealed the limitations of the Mechanicus' understanding. Some tech priests, disillusioned by the cult's rigidity, began hoarding or studying these relics in secret, viewing them as keys to a power that transcended the Emperor's vision. This clandestine research often involved warp-tainted technologies, setting the stage for future corruption. The Mechanicus' internal hierarchy also contributed to the schism. The Fabricator General wielded immense power, but Mars was home to countless Forge worlds, each with its own traditions and priorities. Rivalries between Forge worlds frequently led to disputes over resources, doctrine, and authority. These divisions made it difficult to present a unified front, particularly when confronted with the existential challenges posed by the Horus heresy. Some Forge worlds, already discontent with Mars's central authority, were more receptive to the warmaster's overtures and the promises of chaos. Chaos itself played an insidious role in the Mechanicus' downfall. The warp's influence seeped into the Imperium long before the heresy, whispering to those most susceptible to ambition and greed. For tech priests, the warp represented a realm of infinite potential, a source of power that could unlock the secrets of creation. Many who dabbled in warp-based technologies initially saw their work as a means to an end, believing they could harness the warp without succumbing to its corruption. However, chaos is not a force to be wielded lightly. Over time, these experiments eroded the minds and souls of their practitioners, binding them to the will of the dark gods. Horus Lupercal's rebellion was the final catalyst. As warmaster, Horus understood the strategic importance of the Mechanicus. His emissaries, armed with promises of freedom and power, targeted key figures within the tech priesthood. For those already disillusioned with the Emperor or tempted by chaos, Horus's offer was irresistible. The opportunity to break free from the shackles of imperial doctrine and explore forbidden knowledge without restraint appealed to their deepest desires. The betrayal of Kelbor Hal, Fabricator General of Mars, marked a turning point. Kelbor Hal's alignment with Horus was not a spontaneous decision, but the result of years of growing dissatisfaction with the Emperor's perceived interference in Mechanicus affairs. His willingness to embrace chaos and plunge Mars into civil war signaled to others within the Mechanicus that rebellion was not only possible, but inevitable. Under his leadership, a substantial faction of the Mechanicus defected to the warmaster's side, becoming the Dark Mechanicum. Ultimately, the creation of the Dark Mechanicum was not a single event, but a convergence of factors. The cultural and ideological fractures within the Adeptus Mechanicus, the lure of forbidden knowledge, the divisive policies of the Imperium, and the corrupting influence of chaos. These forces combined to shatter the fragile unity of the Mechanicus, unleashing a new and terrifying power upon the galaxy. The Dark Mechanicum would become a symbol of the dangers inherent in unrestrained ambition and the seductive nature of the warp. Its origins a cautionary tale for those who would seek knowledge at any cost. The creation of the Dark Mechanicum was not an overnight transformation, but a gradual descent into heresy, marked by key events and turning points that spanned centuries. These moments, some subtle and others cataclysmic, chart the course of a faction's evolution from loyal servitude to the Omnissiah to full-blown allegiance to chaos. The seeds of divergence began long before the Horus heresy. In the Age of Strife, Mars found itself isolated from Terra and the rest of humanity. The warp storms that choked the galaxy during this era made interstellar travel impossible, forcing the tech priests of Mars to rely solely on their ingenuity to survive. This isolation fostered the growth of radical sects within the Mechanicus. Some sought to reclaim ancient knowledge through sanctioned methods, but others turned to forbidden practices, including the reverse engineering of Xenos artifacts and experimentation with AI. These rogue elements would later form the ideological backbone of the Dark Mechanicum. The Great Crusade marked the next major phase. As the Emperor united the galaxy, the Mechanicus gained access to vast quantities of ancient technologies from humanity's lost golden age. These discoveries were often incomplete or damaged, requiring extensive study and reconstruction. For many tech priests, the allure of restoring these technologies outweighed their fear of breaching the Mechanicus's doctrinal limits. This period saw the first significant rise in clandestine research into technologies that bordered on heretical, including warp-based mechanisms and psychically attuned devices. During the Great Crusade, tensions between the Imperium and the Mechanicus began to surface. The Emperor's insistence on the imperial truth, which denied the existence of gods, clashed with the Mechanicus's worship of the machine god. This philosophical discord was compounded by the Emperor's own actions, particularly his creation of the Legio Cybernetica's advanced combat robots and the unification of Mars through the Treaty of Olympus. While the treaty granted Mars autonomy, many within the Mechanicus felt that the Emperor was asserting dominance over their faith and traditions. These grievances festered, creating an undercurrent of resentment that chaos would later exploit. The first overt signs of heresy emerged during exploratory missions to the edges of the galaxy. As Mechanicus fleets ventured into uncharted territories, they encountered warp-tainted artifacts and Xenos technologies of unprecedented complexity. Some magi, blinded by ambition, began experimenting with these items in secret, believing they could unlock hidden potential without succumbing to corruption. However, the warp is inherently insidious. Even the most cautious researchers found themselves slowly ensnared by its power. These experiments often culminated in catastrophic results, but the lessons learned would be carried forward by those who survived, paving the way for the later development of warp-fused machinery. The events leading up to the Horus heresy served as the crucible for the Dark Mechanicum's formal creation. Horus Lupercal, newly anointed as warmaster, recognized the strategic importance of the Mechanicus. Through a network of emissaries and covert agents, he began sowing discord within the Fabricator General's court. Kelbor Hal, disillusioned with the Emperor's perceived disregard for the machine god, became a willing participant in Horus's plans. Under Kelbor Hal's leadership, Mars itself became a battleground for the soul of the Mechanicus. The schism of Mars was the defining moment in the Dark Mechanicum's genesis. As Horus declared open rebellion against the Emperor, Kelbor Hal officially renounced his loyalty to Terra. Aided by traitor forces, including the Sons of Horus and elements of the Iron Warriors, Kelbor Hal declared Mars independent from the Imperium. The planet descended into civil war as loyalist Mechanicus forces clashed with the heretical tech priests who would become the Dark Mechanicum. This conflict saw the deployment of horrifying new technologies, including the first demon engines, machines infused with the power of chaos. Following the schism of Mars, the Dark Mechanicum rapidly expanded its influence. With Mars under their control, they gained access to vast forges and resources, allowing them to churn out weapons and war machines for the traitor legions. These creations were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before, grotesque hybrids of flesh, machine, and warp energy that defied the laws of physics and biology. Demon engines, corrupted titans, and other warp-tainted constructs became the hallmark of the Dark Mechanicum's arsenal. Throughout the Horus heresy, the Dark Mechanicum's role grew increasingly prominent. They provided the traitor legions with weapons of unimaginable power, often at great cost to their own humanity. The Magi of the Dark Mechanicum willingly submitted to chaos, offering their bodies and souls in exchange for greater understanding of the warp. This period also saw the creation of the Hellforges, vast, warp-tainted manufactorums located in the Eye of Terror. These Hellforges became the heart of the Dark Mechanicum's operations, producing an endless supply of blasphemous war machines for Chaos's armies. In the aftermath of the Horus heresy, the Dark Mechanicum cemented its position as a distinct faction. With the traitor legions driven into the Eye of Terror, the Dark Mechanicum followed, establishing their Hellforges in the heart of the warp. These Hellforges became centers of innovation and corruption, where tech priests continued their experiments unshackled by the constraints of the Imperium. Over millennia, the Dark Mechanicum evolved into a force that not only supported chaos, but actively shaped its strategies through technological ingenuity. The creation of the Dark Mechanicum was a process marked by betrayal, ambition, and the corrupting influence of chaos. Each stage of their development brought them further from their origins as servants of the Omnissiah and closer to the role they play in the galaxy today, masters of heretical technology, architects of war, and agents of chaos's will. Their story is one of descent into darkness, into heresy, and into a nightmare from which they would never return. The turning point in the creation of the Dark Mechanicum was the schism of Mars, a moment of catastrophic betrayal that transformed the tech priesthood of the Adeptus Mechanicus forever. This conflict, ignited during the Horus heresy, was not just a battle for physical control of the Forge world, but a philosophical and spiritual fracture that split the Mechanicus into two irreconcilable factions: the Loyalists who upheld the worship of the Omnitia, and the heretics who turned to chaos. The events that transpired during this schism set the stage for the Dark Mechanicum's rise as a distinct and enduring force of heresy. The schism of Mars began with a single pivotal act of treachery. Fabricator General Kelbor Hal, the highest authority of the Adeptus Mechanicus, formally declared his allegiance to Horus Lupercal and rejected the Emperor of Mankind as the Omnissiah. Kelbor Hal's disillusionment with the Emperor had been building for years. He saw the Emperor's imperial truth, a doctrine that denied the existence of gods, as a direct affront to the cult Mechanicus beliefs. This resentment deepened as the Emperor's influence over Mars grew, culminating in Kelbor Hal's decision to embrace the promises of chaos. Horus, understanding the strategic value of Mars and its vast forges, cultivated Kelbor Hal's loyalty with care. He dispatched emissaries to the Fabricator General, offering him freedom from the constraints of imperial doctrine and access to the limitless power of the warp. These promises resonated deeply with Kelbor Hal, who viewed the Emperor as a tyrant imposing his will upon Mars. The prospect of unbridled technological experimentation, coupled with the allure of chaos, was too great to resist. The betrayal unfolded with shocking precision. Kelbor Hal, leveraging his authority over Mars, mobilized the planet's resources in support of Horus's rebellion. Loyalist tech priests, shocked by their leader's actions, attempted to resist, but the Fabricator General had already secured the allegiance of key factions within the Mechanicus. The Myrmidon cult, a militant order of tech priests obsessed with war, sided with Kelbor Hal, as did numerous heretics and rogue magi who had long chafed under the restrictions of Mechanicus orthodoxy. These allies provided Kelbor Hal with the manpower and firepower needed to suppress dissent and consolidate his control. One of the most critical early moves in the schism was the sabotage of Mars's defensive systems. Kelbor Hal's loyalists, aided by traitor Astartes from the Sons of Horus and Iron Warriors legions, launched a coordinated assault on key loyalist strongholds. Factories and forges were overrun, data repositories were corrupted, and powerful war machines, titans and knights, were either captured or destroyed. The loyalist defenders, caught off guard by the betrayal, struggled to mount an effective resistance. The chaos on Mars quickly spiraled into a full-scale civil war, with battles raging across its surface and deep within its manufactorums. As the conflict escalated, the warp began to seep into Mars, corrupting its infrastructure and inhabitants. Kelbor Hal, now fully committed to chaos, initiated the construction of warp-tainted devices and demon engines. These creations, forged in secret hell forges, were unlike anything the Mechanicus had ever produced. Infused with the power of chaos, they turned the tide of battle in favor of the heretics. Loyalist forces, unprepared to combat such horrors, were steadily pushed back, their resistance eroded by both physical and psychological trauma. One of the most defining moments of the schism occurred within the Noctis Labyrinthus, a vast subterranean complex rumored to house ancient and forbidden technologies. As the war on Mars raged, loyalist and heretical forces converged on the Labyrinthus, seeking to claim its secrets. The battles fought in these depths were brutal and unrelenting, with tech priests deploying experimental weaponry and unleashing automata in desperate bids for supremacy. Ultimately, the heretical forces prevailed, seizing control of the Labyrinthus and the treasures it contained. Among these treasures were devices that would later become cornerstones of the Dark Mechanicum's arsenal, including schematics for warp-based engines and constructs capable of hosting demonic entities. Despite the Loyalists' best efforts, the Schism of Mars ended in a decisive victory for the heretical forces. Kelbor Hal, now firmly entrenched as a servant of chaos, declared Mars a domain of the Dark Mechanicum. Loyalist survivors were either executed, driven into exile, or forced into hiding. The planet's once sacred forges were transformed into blasphemous manufactorums, churning out weapons and machines to fuel Horus's rebellion. The schism's significance extended far beyond Mars. It marked the first time chaos had fully infiltrated the Mechanicus, corrupting its ideology and infrastructure on a planetary scale. The Dark Mechanicum, born from this betrayal, quickly established itself as an indispensable ally to the traitor legions. The Hell Forges that sprang up in the wake of the schism became centers of innovation and heresy, producing technologies that defied the laws of physics and sanity. For the Imperium, the Schism of Mars was a catastrophic blow. The loss of Mars, the cradle of humanity's technological might, deprived the Emperor's forces of vital resources and forced them to rely on less efficient forge worlds for their war efforts. The betrayal also shattered the unity of the Mechanicus, leaving scars that would never fully heal. For the loyalist tech priests, the schism was a reminder of the dangers of ambition and the seductive power of chaos, a lesson learned too late to save Mars from its fall. The Schism of Mars remains the defining moment in the Dark Mechanicum's history, a singular event that transformed the tech priesthood of Mars into a fractured and corrupted force. It was the point of no return, where ambition and heresy eclipsed loyalty and faith, giving birth to a faction that would haunt the galaxy for millennia to come. The emergence of the Dark Mechanicum left an indelible scar on the galaxy, its influence rippling through every corner of the 41st millennium. By embracing chaos, this heretical offshoot of the Adeptus Mechanicus shattered the boundaries of technological advancement, introducing a dark synthesis of machinery and warp energies. The consequences of their rise have shaped the Imperium, the forces of chaos, and the balance of power across the galaxy in profound ways. For the Imperium, the Dark Mechanicum's defection was a catastrophic blow. The Mechanicus had long been the backbone of humanity's war effort, supplying the Imperium with everything from bolters and power armor to the massive war engines of the Collegia Titanica. The loss of Mars to heresy deprived the Loyalists of their greatest forge world, forcing the Imperium to rely on less efficient, more isolated forge worlds to sustain its war machine. This logistical shortfall weakened the Imperium's ability to mount large-scale campaigns and defend its borders, leaving it vulnerable to Xenos invasions, chaos incursions, and internal rebellions. The Dark Mechanicum's innovations also introduced a new category of existential threats to the galaxy. Their mastery of warp-infused technology resulted in the creation of demon engines, unholy amalgamations of machinery and chaos. These constructs, powered by bound demonic entities, are nightmares given form. From the scuttling defilers to the towering Khitan demon engines, these war machines are designed not just for destruction, but for terror. The Dark Mechanicum's ability to mass-produce such creations ensures that wherever the forces of chaos march, these monstrosities follow, spreading carnage and despair. One of the most significant consequences of the Dark Mechanicum's existence is the Hellforges they established within the Eye of Terror. These vast manufactorums, unbound by the physical laws of reality, operate on a scale that defies comprehension. Time flows differently within the warp, allowing these Hellforges to produce immense quantities of war material in a fraction of the time required by Imperial Forge worlds. The demon engines, corrupted titans, and warp-tainted weaponry emerging from these forges are unparalleled in their destructive potential, giving the forces of chaos a technological edge in their eternal war against the Imperium. The Dark Mechanicum's influence also extends beyond the physical realm. By integrating warp energies into their creations, they blur the line between machine and demon, introducing an element of unpredictability to their constructs. A demon engine might defy conventional logic, moving faster than its mass would suggest, or manifesting additional weaponry seemingly out of thin air. This unpredictability complicates Imperial strategies, forcing them to contend with enemies that cannot be fully understood or anticipated. Their innovations have also reshaped the Chaos Space Marine's arsenal. The Dark Mechanicum provides the traitor legions with weapons and war machines that enhance their battlefield effectiveness. The Helldrake, a flying demon engine, exemplifies this partnership, combining the raw power of chaos with advanced aeronautical engineering to wreak havoc in the skies. Similarly, corrupted titans, once proud symbols of the Mechanicus's might, now serve as instruments of destruction, their machine spirits enslaved to the will of chaos. Beyond the traitor legions, the Dark Mechanicum has had a profound impact on chaos-aligned human and Xenos factions. Renegade war bands, pirate fleets, and heretical cults often turn to the Dark Mechanicum for their technological needs. These heretics willingly barter their loyalty and resources for access to warp-tainted weaponry and equipment, further spreading the Dark Mechanicum's influence. This symbiosis ensures that even isolated pockets of chaos-aligned forces are equipped with tools capable of challenging the Imperium's dominance. The Dark Mechanicum's impact extends to the warp itself. Their relentless experimentation with warp energies and demonic entities has amplified the chaotic tides, further destabilizing the Immaterium. Hellforges, which draw directly from the warp for power, act as focal points of corruption, poisoning the surrounding space with their malign influence. This has a cascading effect on the Imperium, as warp travel becomes even more hazardous, cutting off vital trade routes and leaving isolated worlds vulnerable to attack. The rise of the Dark Mechanicum also represents a moral and philosophical challenge to the Imperium. Their very existence is a testament to the dangers of unrestrained technological ambition and the seductive power of chaos. For the Adeptus Mechanicus, The Dark Mechanicum serves as a grim reminder of what happens when their quest for knowledge deviates from the worship of the Omnissiah. This realization has led to an intensification of dogma and orthodoxy within the Mechanicus, as tech priests seek to prevent further schisms by rigidly enforcing adherence to established doctrines. However, the Dark Mechanicum's existence also exposes the limitations of the Imperium's rigid approach to technology. By rejecting innovation and outlawing certain avenues of research, the Imperium inadvertently creates conditions for heresy to thrive. Many of the Dark Mechanicum's greatest achievements, albeit horrifying, are rooted in ideas that the loyalist Mechanicus refused to explore. This dynamic ensures that the Dark Mechanicum will always attract those tech priests who feel constrained by the Imperium's strictures, perpetuating the cycle of rebellion and corruption. Even as the Dark Mechanicum wreaks havoc on the galaxy, their activities offer occasional, unintentional advantages to the Imperium. The chaos they introduce into warp space occasionally disrupts Xenos incursions, while the destruction wrought by their creations sometimes destabilizes rival chaos factions. These unintended consequences are minor consolation, however, when weighed against the overwhelming devastation the Dark Mechanicum brings to the Imperium and its allies. In sum, the Dark Mechanicum's impact on the galaxy is both immediate and far-reaching. Their alliance with Chaos has transformed them into a technological powerhouse, capable of challenging the Imperium's dominance and reshaping the nature of warfare itself. Their innovations fuel the fires of war, ensuring that the galaxy remains locked in a state of perpetual conflict. For the Imperium, their existence is a bitter reminder of what is lost when ambition is left unchecked and the pursuit of knowledge turns to heresy. The technological creations of the Dark Mechanicum are a horrifying fusion of the material and the immaterial, where the boundaries between machine, flesh, and warp energy dissolve. These innovations are not simply tools of war, but manifestations of heretical genius, unconstrained by the dogmas of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Each invention reflects the Dark Mechanicum's embrace of chaos, blending forbidden sciences with the malevolent powers of the warp to produce artifacts of unmatched destruction and dread. At the forefront of their technological abominations are demon engines, machines powered not by mundane fuel or electricity, but by the bound essence of demonic entities. The process of creating a demon engine begins with a summoning ritual, where a demon is forcibly bound to a machine's core. This binding is a brutal process, ensuring that the demon is unable to escape or resist. The result is a construct that combines the destructive capabilities of advanced machinery with the feral instincts and supernatural resilience of a warp entity. Hellbrutes, Mauler fiends, and Forge fiends are infamous examples of these creations, each serving a specific battlefield role with terrifying efficiency. Central to the Dark Mechanicum's technological repertoire is their mastery of warp-infused energy systems. Unlike the Adeptus Mechanicus, which relies on the plasma reactors and fusion cores of standard template construct, STC designs, the Dark Mechanicum employs power sources drawn directly from the warp. These warp reactors are unstable and dangerous, capable of catastrophic meltdowns, but their output dwarfs conventional systems. This power enables the construction of titanic war machines and weapons that rival anything the Imperium can field. However, the use of warp-based energy comes at a cost. Prolonged exposure often warps the very environment, creating zones of unreality that defy physics and sanity. The Dark Mechanicum's Hellforges are another cornerstone of their technological might. These manufactorums, located within the Eye of Terror and other chaos strongholds, operate under principles that defy conventional understanding. Time itself is malleable within the warp, allowing Hellforges to produce vast quantities of war material in periods that would be impossible in real space. The forges are staffed by a combination of enslaved laborers, corrupted servitors, and heretics who revel in the freedom to experiment without limitation. The resulting creations range from towering war engines to intricate weapons of mass destruction, each one a testament to the Dark Mechanicum's mastery of heretical innovation. Among the most disturbing examples of their technology is the use of flesh mechanics, a field of experimentation that melds living tissue with machinery. The Dark Mechanicum views the human form not as sacred, but as another material to manipulate. Cybernetic enhancements are pushed far beyond the limits accepted by the Adeptus Mechanicus, often resulting in grotesque hybrids that serve as warriors, laborers, or experimental subjects. The Obliterators, corrupted warriors who have fused with their weaponry, are a prime example of this unholy union, their bodies shifting and transforming to produce new armaments in the heat of battle. Their warp weaponry represents another leap in destructive potential. Conventional laser guns and bolters pale in comparison to the devastating power of weapons augmented by warp energies. The Dark Mechanicum has perfected the art of infusing projectiles and beams with the raw force of chaos, creating weapons that tear through armor and flesh with equal ease. These weapons often have unpredictable effects, such as creating localized warp rifts or inducing madness in those nearby. The infamous Baleflamer, a warp-powered flame weapon mounted on demon engines like the Helldrake, spews searing, soul-destroying fire that ignores conventional defenses. The Dark Mechanicum also excels in the corruption and enhancement of existing technologies. The corrupted titans of the traitor Legios serve as horrifying reminders of their capabilities. Once proud symbols of the Collegia Titanica, these titans have been altered through arcane rituals and warp infusion. Their machine spirits, once aligned with the Omnissiah, are now enslaved to chaos, and their weapon systems are augmented with warp-based enhancements that make them even more deadly. These corrupted war engines strike fear into the hearts of their enemies, as their every movement and weapon discharge radiates malevolent power. Their technological heresy extends even to the manipulation of reality itself. Using arcane devices known as warp translocators, the Dark Mechanicum has developed the ability to teleport their constructs and troops across vast distances. Unlike the Imperium's teleportation technologies, which are rare and require precise calculations, the Dark Mechanicum's methods are chaotic and unpredictable. While effective, these translocators often leave a trail of warp-tainted destruction in their wake, destabilizing the fabric of reality wherever they are used. Another hallmark of Dark Mechanicum technology is its focus on autonomous war machines, such as corrupted AI constructs and advanced automata. The Loyalist Mechanicus views AI as a grave heresy, but the Dark Mechanicum has no such reservations. They have developed a wide array of autonomous constructs, from towering battle robots to swarms of warp-infused drones. These creations are often given a semblance of intelligence, augmented by the unpredictable influence of chaos. While incredibly powerful, they are also notoriously difficult to control, occasionally turning on their creators or descending into destructive rampages. Lastly, the Dark Mechanicum's use of psi technology, devices designed to manipulate or amplify psychic energy, sets them apart from their loyalist counterparts. These technologies are often used to enhance the abilities of chaos sorcerers or to weaponize psychic phenomena. Warp resonance cannons, for example, emit waves of psychic energy capable of shredding both the minds and bodies of their targets. Such devices are particularly devastating against psychers and are often employed to break the resistance of psychic-heavy enemy forces like the Grey Knights or Eldar. The technology of the Dark Mechanicum is both a testament to their brilliance and a stark warning of the dangers of unchecked ambition. By merging technology with chaos, they have created tools of unimaginable power, but at the cost of their own humanity and sanity. Their innovations are a perverse mirror of the Adeptus Mechanicus's sacred work, showing what happens when the pursuit of knowledge is driven by hubris and corruption rather than faith and discipline. Through their heretical creations, the Dark Mechanicum has ensured that their shadow will loom over the galaxy for millennia to come. The Dark Mechanicum is home to some of the most brilliant and deranged minds the galaxy has ever seen, individuals whose ambitions, genius, and corruption have left indelible marks on the Imperium and beyond. These tech priests, magi, and heretics have shaped the course of galactic history through their dark innovations, monstrous creations, and unyielding devotion to chaos. Their stories illuminate the depths to which the human mind can descend when unrestrained by morality or faith. Kelbor Hal stands as the most infamous figure of the Dark Mechanicum, his betrayal of Mars marking the faction's genesis. As Fabricator General of the Adeptus Mechanicus, Kelbor Hal wielded immense power and influence over the galaxy's technological infrastructure. His defection to Horus during the Horus heresy was not a sudden act, but the culmination of years of disillusionment with the Emperor's policies. Kelbor Hal viewed the Emperor as a pretender to the machine god's throne and saw chaos as a means to free himself from imperial constraints. Under his leadership, the loyalist and heretical tech priests of Mars clashed in the devastating Schism of Mars, a civil war that solidified the Dark Mechanicum's place within the forces of chaos. Kelbor Hal's legacy endures in the hellforges of the Eye of Terror, where his teachings and methods continue to shape the faction's operations. Another prominent figure is Coriel Zeth, a radical archmagos whose experiments in artificial intelligence and warp-fused technologies pushed the boundaries of heresy. Zeth's work often focused on the integration of psychic phenomena into mechanical constructs, resulting in devices capable of amplifying or weaponizing warp energies. Her most infamous creation was the Cognis Infernum, an artificial intelligence housed within a warp-infused construct that could predict and manipulate the flow of warp currents. Although her experiments often ended in catastrophic failure, Zeth's innovations laid the groundwork for many of the Dark Mechanicum's later achievements, particularly in the field of psi technology. Magos Urtel Shera was another pivotal figure, known for his expertise in xenotechnology. Unlike many of his contemporaries who focused on human-made devices, Zera was obsessed with the artifacts of alien civilizations. He believed that the Imperium's refusal to study Xenos technology was a fatal flaw, one that could only be rectified through heretical research. Zera's fascination with the warp led him to experiment with blending Xenos designs with chaos-infused components, resulting in horrific hybrids that defied natural law. His creations, such as the warp-augmented Wraith constructs, remain some of the most feared weapons in the Dark Mechanicum's arsenal. The heretic Malagra, often referred to as the Lord of Desolation, epitomizes the destructive potential of the Dark Mechanicum. Malagra specialized in siegecraft and the creation of planet-cracking weaponry, including warp-based annihilation devices capable of reducing entire worlds to rubble. His ingenuity was matched only by his sadistic tendencies, as he often used enslaved populations to test his weapons, viewing their suffering as a necessary component of his work. Malagra's ultimate ambition was to design a machine that could collapse entire star systems into the warp, an endeavor he pursued with obsessive zeal. Among the most enigmatic figures of the Dark Mechanicum is Anakaris Scoria, a former Archmagos of the Loyalist Mechanicus who turned to heresy during the Horus heresy. Scoria's defection was marked by his mastery of biomechanics, a field that sought to merge living tissue with mechanical constructs on a fundamental level. His greatest achievement was the creation of the Cybernetica Infesta, a legion of warp-corrupted automata that served as his personal army. Scoria's body itself became a testament to his craft, as he replaced nearly all his organic components with warp-tainted machinery, transforming himself into a living weapon. His monstrous form and unparalleled intellect made him one of the most feared agents of the Dark Mechanicum. The demon engineer Samus Dracor is another notable figure, renowned for his ability to bind demons into machines with near-perfect precision. Dracor's methods were brutal and arcane, involving rituals that often required the sacrifice of hundreds of souls to ensure the demon's compliance. His creations, including the infamous Warpfang Titan, were known for their unprecedented power and unpredictable behavior. Dracor's ability to meld the organic, mechanical, and demonic earned him a reputation as one of the most innovative and dangerous minds of the Dark Mechanicum. Not all key figures within the Dark Mechanicum were human. Demonic entities such as Asurek, the Forge Fiend of Kataroth, played a significant role in shaping the faction's trajectory. Asurek was a warp entity that served as both advisor and enforcer for the heretics who summoned it. Its knowledge of the warp and its ability to influence the creation of demon engines made it an invaluable ally, though its true motives were never entirely clear. Asurek's presence highlighted the symbiotic relationship between the Dark Mechanicum and the entities of the warp, a bond that defined the faction's operations. Finally, there are the countless unnamed heretics and magi whose contributions, while less celebrated, were no less significant. These individuals worked tirelessly in the Hellforges, pushing the boundaries of science and sorcery to create weapons and machines that defied understanding. Each contributed to the Dark Mechanicum's collective knowledge, ensuring that the faction's technological and demonic advancements continue to evolve over millennia. These figures, driven by ambition, genius, and corruption, represent the core of the Dark Mechanicum's identity. Their heretical innovations and dark deeds have left an indelible mark on the galaxy, shaping the faction into the terrifying force it remains to this day. Through their actions, the Dark Mechanicum has ensured that its legacy will endure, a constant reminder of the dangers of unrestrained ambition and the corrupting power of chaos. The Dark Mechanicum is shrouded in layers of mystery, with countless enigmas surrounding their origins, their technologies, and their ultimate objectives. Their operations within the chaotic realms of the warp, their unholy alliances with demonic entities, and the sheer scale of their heretical activities have left the galaxy questioning the full extent of their power. These mysteries remain a source of both fascination and dread, for uncovering their truths could unravel the fragile stability of the Imperium and its understanding of the universe. One of the most perplexing mysteries is the fate of Kelbor Hal. After the Horus heresy and the fall of Horus, many of the traitor legions and their allies retreated into the Eye of Terror. Kelbor Hal, the fabricator general of Mars who orchestrated the schism of Mars, vanished into obscurity. While some records suggest he was killed during the final days of the heresy, others hint at his survival, suggesting he may still exist as a warped amalgamation of man and machine, presiding over the Hellforges as a demigod of heretical innovation. If he remains alive, what role he plays in the Dark Mechanicum's current operations is a question that haunts loyalist tech priests. The Hellforges themselves are enigmatic constructs whose true nature remains largely unknown. Unlike traditional Forge worlds, the Hellforges operate within the Eye of Terror or other warp-tainted regions, where the laws of physics are distorted. How the Dark Mechanicum maintains these manufactorums in such hostile environments and the exact mechanisms they use to produce their vast arsenal of weapons remain mysteries even to their loyalist counterparts. Some speculate that the Hellforges are themselves semi-sentient constructs powered by bound demons or ancient warp entities. If true, this raises unsettling questions about their autonomy and the degree to which they serve their creators versus chaos itself. Another enduring enigma is the source of their most advanced warp-based technologies. While much of the Dark Mechanicum's work stems from a blend of heretical experimentation and traditional Mechanicus knowledge, certain devices and constructs defy explanation. The existence of warp gates, time-warping constructs, and weapons capable of collapsing reality suggests access to knowledge far beyond what any human mind could conceive. Some theorize that the Dark Mechanicum has unearthed ancient technologies predating the Dark Age of technology, possibly even relics from long-extinct alien civilizations or the Old Ones. Others believe that these advancements are gifts, or curses, from the Chaos Gods, granted as part of unholy bargains whose terms are understood only by the demons themselves. The role of the Machine God in the Dark Mechanicum's beliefs is another point of contention and mystery. While the loyalist Adeptus Mechanicus venerates the Machine God as a divine figure distinct from chaos, the Dark Mechanicum's heretical practices blur these lines, Some within the Dark Mechanicum claim that the machine god is merely another aspect of chaos, perhaps even a shadow of the Void Dragon, the Catan imprisoned beneath Mars. This interpretation suggests that the Dark Mechanicum's worship is not so much a betrayal as a return to what they see as the true nature of their deity. If this belief is correct, it could imply that the divide between the loyalist Mechanicus and the Dark Mechanicum is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of their shared origins. The existence of demon engines is another source of relentless speculation. The precise methods used to bind demons to mechanical constructs remain a closely guarded secret. While it is known that these rituals require significant sacrifice and complex machinery, the true nature of the bond between demon and machine is still poorly understood. Some believe that these bindings are inherently unstable, with the demon constantly fighting for control. Others suggest that the demon willingly cooperates, viewing the machine as a conduit for its destructive potential. If the latter is true, it raises unsettling questions about the degree to which the Chaos Gods themselves oversee and direct the activities of the Dark Mechanicum. The Cybernetica Infesta, a rumored faction within the Dark Mechanicum, presents another layer of intrigue. This shadowy group is said to focus exclusively on the corruption and reprogramming of ancient automata and AI constructs. Their existence is supported by sporadic reports of corrupted robots appearing on battlefields, displaying behavior and capabilities that far exceed anything known to the Imperium. If these reports are accurate, the Cybernetica Infesta may represent a long-hidden facet of the Dark Mechanicum's activities, with implications that could disrupt the Imperium's already tenuous technological dominance. The Dark Mechanicum's interaction with Xenos artifacts is equally puzzling. Reports from rogue traders and inquisitors suggest that certain heretics actively seek out alien relics, particularly those associated with the Necrons and their ancient technologies. The motives behind these pursuits are unclear, whether they aim to replicate Necron technology, unlock its secrets for chaos, or use it as a weapon against the Imperium. The potential merging of Necron technology with chaos-tainted machinery is a prospect that terrifies even the most hardened Imperial commanders, as it could produce weapons capable of erasing entire civilizations. Another chilling mystery revolves around their experiments with time and reality manipulation. Certain battles against chaos forces have seen phenomena that defy comprehension, such as war machines that seem to phase in and out of existence, or weapons that reverse entropy in localized areas. These occurrences suggest that the Dark Mechanicum is actively experimenting with manipulating the fabric of reality itself. The implications of such experiments are staggering, raising the possibility that the Dark Mechanicum may one day master the ability to alter time or even create new realities aligned with chaos. Perhaps the most ominous mystery is the true extent of the Dark Mechanicum's influence. While much of their activity is concentrated within the Eye of Terror, scattered reports indicate their presence in real space is far greater than the Imperium realizes. Entire Forge worlds have gone silent, their populations rumored to have been corrupted by heretic infiltrators. Rogue traders speak of secret manufactorums hidden in uncharted regions of the galaxy, producing weapons that bear the unmistakable marks of the Dark Mechanicum. These whispers suggest that the faction's reach extends far beyond what the Imperium acknowledges, posing a constant and insidious threat. The Dark Mechanicum thrives on secrecy, its operations and motives deliberately obscured by layers of misdirection and arcane rituals. For the Imperium, these mysteries are not just academic, they represent existential threats that could unravel the fabric of the galaxy. Yet for all the questions surrounding the Dark Mechanicum, one truth remains. Their embrace of chaos has made them a force of unimaginable power and unpredictability, one whose secrets may never be fully uncovered.